In that Oval Office meeting, it was the first point of contention between Trump and Zelenskyy, where Europe has only given this amount and the United States has given much more. And he's like, no. And Trump's like, yeah. And Zelensky's like, nah. And it was a little, like almost a little like a laughable kind of, he's like, eh.
Well, Macron did the thing earlier, I don't know if you saw. So Trump says, we've given more than Europe. Macron grabs Trump's hand in the Oval Office and sets it down, because Trump does this thing. He like talks like this. Macron's go, no, actually, Europe's given more, and it's all on loan just like the US. He said nothing.
That didn't.
Because JD didn't freak the fuck out. So you want to talk about disrespect. The French president put his hands on the US president and just completely cut him off and said he's wrong on national television.
So are we, the American taxpayer, the people that live in the middle of Louisiana that are about to lose their Medicaid, are we supposed to give our taxpayer dollars to Ukraine to continue to hold off Russia? Because that's all we've been doing for 3 years, is just to sort of hold Russia at bay. Are we supposed to keep doing that indefinitely?
You could end this, but you don't end it by capitulating to Russia and giving them what they want.
We end it by spending U.S. taxpayer dollars to feed the machine.
We end it on Russia, you are the aggressors, and we end it on terms favorable for Ukraine.
I think
not terms favorable for Russia, which is what we're currently doing.
I think Trump is ending it to try to get terms that are favorable for the United States. You know, this Oval Office meeting was a huge deal. I watched it, not live, but I saw it.
I didn't watch it live. I watched it after that night and kind of the morning after.
Yeah.
And then I watched it back today.
Let's talk about the Oval Office meeting.
Yep.
Would you like to offer a take and your analysis of that?
Let's do a small fact segment, just very small.
Okay.
It was for the mineral deal.
Okay.
It was the reason for the meeting, was to sign a mineral deal. It's what he was in the White House to do.
Okay.
And they were...
That's what Trump wanted to get done while he was there.
That's Trump's mission.
Along with a ceasefire.
Maybe to start hashing that out more, but he didn't have like a thing for Zelenskyy to sign. But like to talk about it, that was another goal.
Okay.
So I want to talk about a little bit about what Trump was hoping to get out of the mineral deal.
Yes, good.
It's important to know, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
So the U.S., Trump, was demanding a $500 billion share of rare earth materials in exchange for aid already provided to Ukraine. So nothing new happens. It's just give us $500 billion.
To pay us back for what you have done before, but also to keep a continuation of what we've been doing.
It was just for what we've already done.
I understood it.
It wasn't necessarily even to, I'm sure there'd be more to it to continue.
I understood it as a little bit of a pushback, and we both may be wrong on this, but it was, yes, this is a little bit of a payback for what we've already given you. Plus, we'll keep our stance of, here's a couple missiles, here's a few, here's a little intel, here's a little bit of personnel to help you. But but just to keep a little bit of the gravy train going. So
there's an insane level of, I would say just evil, just very horrible morally things, questionably things that Trump did, and I'll get to it in a second. So Zelenskyy rejects this $500 billion mining rights, basically, is what it would be, effectively. Ukraine would sell the rights for American companies to come and mine.
Is that how you interpreted it? Because
that's what it was. American companies were going to go mine.
Oh yeah, they would go mine, right?
So it's essentially.
But he didn't reject it. In fact, he said it.
They've reworked the thing several times. This was the initial deal.
Oh, well, how about what happened in the Oval Office?
So Zelenskyy rejects this. Then Trump follows up with the dictator line. Only after Zelenskyy says no.
Okay, right. Yeah, he initially said no, you can't come mine.
And then Trump goes, oh, actually, you're a dictator.
Well, and...
To pressure Zelenskyy publicly.
Yes, he pressured him.
Then Trump follows up with, I know what we'll do, a 2-to-1 repayment ratio. So for every dollar we've given you, you have to give us $2 back. Zelenskyy says, no, because I'm not indebting Ukraine 10 generations of Ukrainians. He says, I'm not doing that either. So just the insane level of, oh, we'll help you a little bit, but you have to give us the whole country.
You're not giving me the facts. You're giving me your commentary.
I'm going to commentate.
Oh, yeah. While you give me the facts, you're going to commentate?
I'm commentating. So
I'm trying to...
Trump states that Ukraine will receive $350 billion in aid if they signed whatever this deal. for the right to fight on, which is a very odd statement for Trump to have said.
I don't understand the statement, the right to fight on, but okay.
So another fact, the U.S. has only given like 150-ish around there billion in aid. A lot of it is like old military tech. A lot of it.
Yeah.
Like we're like
our crap laying
giving
around.
them like F-18s and like Javelin missiles.
That's the Top Gun fighter. No, that's an F-14.
The one with the wings come out
Yeah.
is an F-14.
Okay, sorry.
The ones that they were, no, yeah, it is. The ones that in the beginning of the movie where they're training, those are F-18s. So the one with that, he has like the blue and black stripes painted on the
Yeah,
side.
okay.
That's an F-18.
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick.
Got to include a Top Gun Maverick reference.
Gotta.
We're talking about a war.
Yeah, so Top Gun Maverick, the ones in the training,
Okay, all right, got it.
those
Anyway.
are F-18s, yeah.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for that.
So about 150 billion in aid, which is less than Europe.
Right,
To be
but
very clear, less than Europe.
yes. So this is where
And most of it is old tech that was just collecting dust in warehouses in Utah.
and let's
So let's be clear.
right, like all this stuff that Biden has given, but in that Oval Office meeting, it was the first point of contention between Trump and Zelenskyy, where Europe has only given this amount, and the United States has given
And
much,
Zelenskyy
much
was-
more. And he's like, no. And Trump's like, yeah. And Zelensky's like, nah.
If you watch the
And it was a little, like almost a little like a laughable
Yeah.
kind of, he's like, eh.
Well, Macron did the thing earlier. I don't know if you saw. Macron, so Trump says we've given more than Europe. Macron grabs Trump's hand in the Oval Office and sets it down because Trump does this thing. He like talks like this. So have your hands up like you Trump. Macron's go, no. Actually, Europe's given more and it's all on loan just like the U.S. He said nothing. Macron grabbed the U.S. president's hand and shut him up in the Oval Office. So we talk about disrespect.
Yeah, that didn't get press.
Nope.
That didn't
Because
get
JD didn't freak the fuck out. So you want to talk about disrespect. The French president put his hands on the US president and just completely cut him off and said he's wrong on national television. So these rare earth materials that Trump is trying to get for the US.
Yep.
The most recent mapping, well, one, a lot of U.S. officials aren't even really aware how much there is, and there's not that much actually in Ukraine, like the things that he's wanting.
500 billion worth.
There's not really that much. And if not, it'd be like most of what Ukraine has. Hence, Zelensky's freaking out of what the fuck are you talking about? The most real solid proof and up-to-date maps that we have of where they're all located is Soviet.
Talking 80s maps that say
80s,
here's where.
80s Soviet maps is the maps that we have for where the minerals
How do we
are
know
at.
that? Do you have some source on that?
CNN. Or I think it's AP.
AP. All right.
Okay. So it's Soviet maps. So we're already like, okay, what are we even doing here? And then on top of that, the Soviet maps say almost all of anything that Trump wants is currently occupied by Russia. It's all in the East, like on the front lines. Kind of an insane deal. Like every version of what Trump has requested is ludicrous.
Or not.
It is.
Or
Because
not.
it's not even solid information he's wanting.
Well, it may not be solid information, but
It's
how.
also, he's requesting a big chunk of what they have to offer as a country.
Completely. Right.
That's nuts.
So then I'm going to play devil's advocate for MAGA.
Okay.
So are we, the American taxpayer, the people that live in the middle of Louisiana that are about to lose their Medicaid, are we supposed to give our taxpayer dollars to Ukraine to continue to hold off Russia? Because that's all we've been doing for 3 years, is just to sort of hold Russia at bay. Are we supposed to keep doing that indefinitely?
Yeah.
We are? That's the plan.
Well,
I mean, that was the Biden plan.
well, if you're a president with some stones, what you do is, I'll tell you what you should do as a president. What you do is you give the Ukrainians real weapons. And then you say very publicly, these are now Ukrainian.
You can do what you want with them.
So if they want to go
If you want to bomb
bomb
Moscow.
in Russia, I sold them to Ukraine. So it's no longer, I don't care that it was made. I don't have control over that artillery piece anymore. So now that they know Ukraine has like real weaponry. And then you say to Russia, you're going to be removing your troops very soon. I'm not even asking you, I'm just telling you you're going to do it. Russia's not, they're a little baby country. All they have is nukes. That's literally it. They're just scary. Or we're going to nuke you.
Right.
That's all they have.
Right.
They're not going to nuke.
I
They're not going to.
don't think anybody will nuke.
No.
I just don't think anybody on earth really wants to go.
Russia knows that first of all, their military stalled like 3 miles from the Russian border. which is, keep in mind,
Yeah, they didn't make it far.
Ukraine, to be clear, is like open grasslands. It's open fields.
But they took Crimea in 2014.
Mm-hmm. It's over the Black Sea. It's hard for Ukraine to, but they did take it pretty quickly. But yeah, they stalled like 3 miles from their border.
While Obama was president.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Russian military is kind of like cardboard.
Granted.
Like wet cardboard.
Granted.
So yeah, so what you do is you just...
They have North Korean soldiers helping on the front lines.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, so you stonewall Russia and
All right.
you don't let them...
So that's your plan.
Yeah, you big dog Russia because we can. You can end this, but you don't end it by capitulating to Russia and giving them what they want.
We end it by spending U.S. taxpayer dollars to feed the machine.
We don't have to feed the machine. We end it on Russia, you are the aggressors, and we end it on terms favorable for Ukraine.
I think,
Not terms favorable for Russia, which is what we're currently doing.
I think Trump is ending it to try to get terms that are favorable for the United States.
Which would be...
That's my pushback.
Okay, then that would be terms favorable for Ukraine. They're extremely overlapping helpful things.
I think
Now,
Trump thinks not so.
Terms helpful for the richest people in this country is helping Russia. The Venn diagram of what helps Russia is very much overlapping with what helps billionaires in this country. What helps the United States?
I don't have evidence to that,
Sure.
but
Yeah, it's what helps. So that's kind of the mineral deal. That's kind of the big thing.
I mean, the mineral deal is a thing.
The stuff Trump was proposing, I don't know exactly what the current proposal was because there wasn't that many talks about it because they were going to hash that out.
Right.
That's what that kind of part of what it was them to discuss it.
Yes.
So we don't really have a lot of information.
Yes.
Up to the meeting, absurd offers from Trump.
But I will say,
Absurd.
half of America is totally okay with, look, this is a country in Europe bordering an aggressor. Mm-hmm. It's your fault for living next to Russia. It's your fault for living next to Russia.
Okay.
And if they decide to invade your country, if you want us to give you military, if you want us to give you money, if you want us to give you this, then you're going to have to give us something back in return, which is
An unequal deal.
well, an unequal deal.
Very unequal.
Trump's big argument has been, Biden has just given $350 billion. I understand that these numbers aren't exactly
Way off.
accurate. I get it.
Yeah.
But just given them that, whereas the partners from Europe have loaned Ukraine
Also
money.
not true.
Got it. I'm just saying what the line is, right?
There was discussions under Biden that there would be some kind of mineral deal striked with Ukraine.
No kidding.
That was already a thing. Like Zelensky was already well aware that to end this, we have to have a deal of some kind and the U.S. would benefit. And Biden already had that discussion with Zelensky.
And Trump is now...
Trump's doing nothing new. He's just like...
He's forcing it, though.
Fucking Ukraine over. Because he can.
But is he?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't even let you devil's advocate it.
But is he forcing some decision-making finally? After 3 years and hundreds of thousands of deaths, which is Trump's point, is that there's been hundreds of thousands of deaths. How long are we going to haggle back and forth on a mineral deal when we finally make a decision?
Whose fault that there's deaths happening?
Putin.
Okay. So we can't blame Ukraine for that.
I'm not blaming Ukraine.
Trump's blaming Ukraine.
I'm only blaming Ukraine for being next door to Russia.
So what I'm saying is Ukraine aggressed.
And being a part of Russia, being a part of the USSR at one point.
Wait a second. I also remember this. Macron made this point. There is an unreal amount of frozen Russian assets in Europe and in America that's just currently frozen as far as I know. We can just, thanks.
Just keep it.
Yeah, it's actually ours now. Russia's the aggressor. It's Russia's fault there's a war happening. It's Russia's fault we're having to spend money to help Ukraine. It's Russia's fault people are dying. Ukraine has done nothing wrong. With the same logic that we're blaming Ukraine, it's our fault the revolution happened. We were evil Americans for killing redcoats. They were just doing their jobs. What does that insane take? We're horrible, evil people for going to war with Japan.
I don't think that anybody would knock Ukrainians for defending themselves.
That's what they're doing right now.
Who? I mean, maybe there are some, but I don't
No,
know.
that's what Ukrainians are doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
And they're
saying.
being torn to shreds.
Well, they're being, but they're also shredding Russia also. You know what I mean?
Russia's fault, though.
No, I'm not saying, it's Russia's fault.
Everything is Russia's fault. Therefore, Russia should have to pay.
Yes, which is the point Zelensky made.
And Macron.
In the Oval Office.
And Macron.
Yeah, but importantly, Zelensky in the Oval Office said it.
Sure, we can get our money back. Russian money. Every war ever in the history of ever.
Every time the aggressor loses,
Who pays?
the aggressor pays.
Yes, every single time.
Straight out of Zelensky's mouth from the Oval Office. That's
And
what he
Zelensky's
said.
saying, how about we just do the thing everyone has always done ever for the history of humans? How about we do that? How about we do that? And
Yep.
so randomly we're course correcting because we like Russia so much. What are we doing?
But here's what happened in all of those examples, and this is the point that's not mentioned, is that the aggressor was defeated. Russia has not been defeated. In order to defeat Russia, either, NATO has to make a giant push in all of Europe. I mean, it has to be a full-scale war. Right now, I would call it a regional,
Oh, a regional war, yeah.
war, right? So, and as long as it stays a regional war, then, once it becomes allies involved directly in the war, whether it's Europe, United States, or whatever else, then it becomes that kind of full-scale war. And it's like, okay, now we're all spending money and we're all losing lives. Russia, you're going to have to pay. What I think Trump is doing, MAGA advocate, what I think Trump, I know.
It's horrible.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But like, I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can be in this and sort of see it from all sides if I can, not justifying it or agreeing with it, just seeing it. So I can sort of see the whole argument.
Seeing how they're wrong.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Maybe.
Do you know that Russia has kidnapped like tens of thousands of Ukrainian children?
He said it in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
He showed Trump pictures of Ukrainian children that we couldn't see, that he didn't, right? So,
Yeah. Russia's kidnapped tens of thousands of Ukrainian children and put them in with Russian families, speaking Russian schools.
to become Russian. Awful.
Horrible. So, okay, MAGA Republican, you don't want to aid Ukraine? That's fine. I don't want to aid Israel anymore. And I don't want to put tariffs on China because that's over the Pacific and that's not my problem. And Israel's in the Middle East and I'm not over there. That's not my problem. There's an ocean and 2 continents in the way.
But I want to build a hotel in Gaza.
I don't care.
I want to build a Trump Gaza hotel.
And I want to build a Max Kuhn hotel 2 feet from the Russian border that plays anti-Putin propaganda on a big TV 24/7.
Yeah.
So if you want to cut funding for Ukraine, stop Ukraine, fine. We're also going to entirely abandon Israel because that's the Middle East's problem. That's Israel's problem.
So you're making an argument if the idea is we just abandon Ukraine, then we also abandon Israel.
That's further away than Ukraine.
But we say,
Because you have to go across and south.
But we say Israel is our allies.
Why?
Because they're our only ally in the Middle East.
So they're far away. I don't care. That's the Middle East.
That's where all the oil is.
We have way more oil here. And in Canada, we don't get any oil from the Middle East nearly. Like 6% of our oil comes from the Middle East. I don't care what happens in the Middle East. I don't live there.
That's the point Americans are making. I don't live in Ukraine.
But every Republican would go, we have to fund Israel.
You see how this is so complicated.
No, it's pretty simple. So it's
All right.
absolutely manufactured consent by the media and 100% emotional. That's it. Anybody with an
Explain that better because I don't understand
So
manufactured consent and it's emotional.
any right-leaning media has pushed the lie about how much money spent, the lie that it wasn't Russia started the war, pushing Russian talking points. Tim Pool was paid, Benny Johnson was paid by Russia to push Russian misinformation. Everyone's pushing Russian misinformation everywhere. You can play Tucker Carlson's podcast and then play
Russian state media.
RT, Russian state media. If I like made it AI voice, you couldn't tell who was talking. You'd have no idea who's who because it's identical. So for years now, we've been pushing Russian state media propaganda talking points. We Republican-leaning, right-leaning media, like CNN isn't doing that. On top of that, it's all just emotions. It's no logic. It's no understanding of geopolitics or foreign policy. It's just emotional. Oh, we got to protect Israel. Why? Judeo-Christian values and Fox News said so. See my point?
We're not Muslim. We're Christian.
So we're not Jewish. So we don't give a shit about Jewish. So we don't give a shit about
Jew, Jesus.
the position.
It's the same God.
The position on Jesus is more harsh by Jews than it is by Muslims.
Same God.
I think it's all absurd, but
Oh, wow.
but
I also think it's all absurd.
But-
all religious wars are absurd.
but my point
yes.
my point being that
Even as a MAGA
the same
advocate.
claim that you're like, well, Muslim, blah, 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 you could say the exact same thing about Judaism. It's all just news and podcasts and influencers just saying the same things over and over and over and over. And if it's all you see all day, ever, at any point, You're going to believe it eventually. No one's immune to propaganda. I'll say this. The more you understand the reason behind protecting Ukraine and the geopolitics of it, it's very obvious that it's smart too. But I'll leave it with this one more emotional note to appeal, right? One less heady, less logical. You don't have to think about it as hard.
Yeah, give me some heart.
I can't think, as an American, red, white, and blue blood through my veins. I can't think of a more American thing than to have a tyrant invade your country and kill your fellow man than to take arms with everything you have, every citizen armed to the teeth, fighting back with every ounce of effort you have against the tyrant. I can't think of a single more American thing.
So by
I'm just saying
extension, then Ukraine is our brethren because the same
the
thing
extension,
is happening to
America
that democracy.
was founded upon the rejection of tyranny.
So
The tyranny of the King of Britain, and we had a revolution and we won, and now we're this country. That is our spirit. That is our heart, as our core. We are all rebels fighting back against tyrants. Ukraine
is fighting back against
doing
the
the
tyrant.
2022 version a little bit differently, but effectively the exact same thing as we did in 1776. A tyrant has aggressed upon them and killed them, and they're arming every man and woman to fight to the last man, the last inch of territory, last inch of country against that tyrant.
And you're taking the Jeffersonian position. Man, we're going way back. The Thomas Jeffersonian position, Thomas Jefferson, of because their cause matches our cause in our hearts and our spirits as Americans, that we should be
Brothers
standing
in spirit.
So we should be standing with them, and defending democracy at large. You're not taking the position of George Washington and John Adams,
I'm taking the Jeffersonian position.
who says that is not our fight.
I think that's a wild take. Back in the day, maybe it makes sense if you're a microscopic country.
Well, I know. Well, I mean, also the world is a global world.
Yeah, it's a
and
global world. But
it doesn't take a month to cross the Atlantic like it used to.
it takes a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
But I would say nothing more American can you do than to fight back against a tyrant.
I buy it.
They are brothers
I
in,
know. I get
in
it.
soul and in spirit.
I buy it.
So I think it's logical for Zelenskyy to go, who is the number one representative of fighting back against tyranny? It's France and it's the US. As an American, I am inspired by that.
Just to be clear, though, for the record.
But at the end, I want to touch something Republicans would understand.
All right.
They're fighting against a tyrant who wants to take their land and steal their children and make them Russian. What if someone in China came here and stole our children and made them Chinese?
They're going to say.
We would glass China in 3 minutes.
They're going to say it's not our fight.
I remember when France helped us in the revolution.
You do remember that?
So, I mean, so a little bit hypocritical for Americans to have accepted help all the time and then we refuse to help.
Hypocritical of George Washington and John Adams.
Yeah, I'm fine with saying that.
I think we've explored all the takes, but I do want to say
There's still an entire meeting we haven't talked about. The entire meeting we haven't even talked about yet.
Oh, the Oval Office meeting? Yeah, so we'll get to the Oval Office meeting. I'm going to get up and pee.
Okay.
Because I think we can end this segment.
Yeah, we've been here for a while.
Because this is a violent segment that we just had. I do want to end the segment with, even though I'm playing the MAGA advocate as a role for our show, I stand with the Ukrainian people.
100%, yeah.
And I don't know that I would go and stand next to them and fight, maybe because I'm not brave enough for that. It's their fight, not mine. But I certainly...
I'll give them F-35s to go fucking...
But I'm happy to throw them a few bucks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to throw them a few bucks.
Yeah.
More than a few bucks.
We got plenty of we spend plenty of money. Let's do something with it at least.